from the US. We talk about the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who's coming under intense pressure to open up about his controversial past, which allegedly makes him a British citizen. Over the weekend, Special Assistant to the Vice President, Gideon Buaku, took to Facebook to indicate that, quote, the attention of the Office of the Vice President has been drawn to a malicious social media allegation that the Vice President holds a British citizenship while holding the office of the Vice President, contrary to the laws of Ghana. We wish to state that in clear terms, the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, does not hold a British citizenship and has never held any British or any other citizenship other than being a Ghanaian. The allegation should be treated with the contempt it deserves. That's what came through from the office of the Vice President, but there are some other groups that are mounting pressure, asking the Vice President to come clear about his past. Niyama Adi is a lawyer and lead fellow at the Center for Social Justice, joining us via Zoom now. Thank you, Ni, for your time. What more do you want from the Vice President?
Thank you very much. I mean, the issues of dual citizenship has been raging for some time now in Ghana. I mean, if you look at the case of Gyekye Quayson, which has called for a by-election now, it's just a matter of dual citizenship. And for the fact that he went through all the processes to renounce his dual citizenship, yet the court found it palpable to, strike his name off the parliament and to call for a by-election, tells you the extent to which we do not take dual citizenship for granted. And it's right that if you hold dual citizenship, then there are certain positions that you cannot contest for or hold. That's the presidency, the vice presidency, the parliament.
And here's the case. Here's the case that you find. Here's the case that you find the office of the vice president denying, first of all, the allegations and indicating that he's not held any other citizenship apart from being a Ghanaian. Is that not enough? What more could we do about this?
No. We've all seen the marriage certificate, which went viral on social media. So that as it is, and if it's a matter of law, then you would say that somebody would have to pick up the issue. Somebody must always bring a case before the law. So you say that you pick the certificate, go to where it was registered, and then do the further research. Find out if that marriage really happened. And if it happened, is it a case that it has been cancelled? And if it's cancelled, does that marriage lead to citizenship? If it does, has that citizenship been renounced? Okay, so those things ought to be done. And then once that is done, a prima facie case can be established if he really holds dual citizenship. If that is it, then we can get into the law and bring it before the law. But in the absence of that, we'll just discuss it as grapevine and speculations and all that.
Right, and many say that's where we should let this lie, given the fact that we're in a political season, the New Patriotic Party is looking for its next leader. Here's the Vice President jostling for the next stop job within the governing party. He wants to lead the NPP as its next presidential candidate. You don't believe that there may be some political elements working against him?
Sometimes you also want to look at it the other way around and say that, look, if our vice president is of a very high moral turpitude, then he would say that, yes, I've seen this come around, prove what went detail into it, rather than just saying that the people should leave it to rest. We know that our law says whoever alleges must prove, but it can also go the other way around with a common sense that, look, if I'm being alleged for this, because don't forget that there's always the case for perception. Perception have a huge place to play in this social discourse and all those. So in order to cure that perception, maybe he can go a step further, other than simply saying that it does not exist, to maybe prove how it does not exist. That makes it very right. But albeit, it is their internal thing, and if there is an internal interest within the party, who am I to talk for them? They will leave it to them to fight it out for themselves as an internal issue. But I think that if what we saw on social media is anything to go by, then we'll probe further. I mean, I think it ought to be probed further to see where the truth lies.
Yeah, but if you're asking for
or whether a case in law can be established.
but if you're asking for a probe, here's the case: that this is the vice president we're talking about. Clearly, and I'm not saying that the Attorney General may not be interested in the case, but given the fact that, of course, knowing where the appointment authority is coming from, the difficulty may be there. How about other institutions, say the Office of the Special Prosecutor and others? Are you considering as a coalition to perhaps petition his office on this matter?
Of course. I mean, the law is no respecter of person. I mean, nobody is above the law. So to say that is the vice president, yeah, respectfully is the vice president, and nobody is taking him for granted. But if an issue has been established, then why not? So that, yes, a further investigation will be taken. And I can assure you that those searches will go on. And if anything is unraveled that calls for a case before the law court, why not? It will be pursued vigorously.
This whole issue about dual nationality and whether or not we should be allowing such persons to hold political office, it's as though it's an archaic situation that we find ourselves in, a piece of legislation that many want us to do away with. What's your take on that?
I mean, it's interesting because, I mean, for how long now we've been talking about ROPAL, and for the fact that our brothers and sisters abroad contribute so much to the economic development of this country, and to deny them, to say that if I'm a Ghanaian and by way of work I've acquired a nationality, or for no fault of mine, maybe as childhood at 4 or 5 years you were taken abroad and you acquire other nationality, and then for that reason you cannot hold certain positions. I think that these are things that ought to be discussed, and I think former President Mahama and the leader of the NDC have said that if it comes to power, these are some of the things that it will open up for proper discussion. And I think that we should do it because it's been on the drawing board for a very long time, a very long time. So it's about time that as a country, we do not just speak, but we must be seen to be manifestly doing the things that we talk about. And one would expect that for a president who is a lawyer, I mean, as we say, would have taken, a very much interest in these issues and have done with it. And you see, that's where sometimes I have problems. Because when it's a matter of law, then I feel that our president must take a center stage. But when these things are left, I mean, it's quite worrisome. I think that we have to open that vista for proper national discussion, so that if it is the case that we have to put it into practice as quickly as possible, why not? We should do.
Okay, then. Grateful, Nneema Addy, joining us live via Zoom. Grateful. And since you're talking about the former president, I should say, he's now the flag bearer of the opposition NDC, and John Mahama has been calling on Parliament to lead that charge in reviewing the constitutional provisions that prevent Ghanaians with dual citizenship from holding political positions in the country. Former MP for Asin North constituency, James Gyakye Quayson, was stripped of his parliamentary status by a Supreme Court ruling because he owed allegiance to another country contrary to law. Listen to the former President John Mahama, his take on dual nationality and others relating to ROPA.
The party also acknowledges your concerns about participation in elections and governance. Of particular concern to you have been the constitutional impediments to persons holding dual citizenship and the occupation of some positions in government in Ghana. Only a few weeks ago, we suffered what we considered grave injustice when our Member of Parliament for Asin North was thrown out of Parliament by the Supreme Court on grounds that we find entirely unsatisfactory. I've previously indicated that one of the things I will do when elected president in 2024 will be to fast-track the clarification of the constitutional provision on allegiance that bars our dual citizens from holding some offices in Ghana. I call on our Speaker, Honorable Sumana Bagbin, and the Parliament of Ghana to do the needful so that Ghana can benefit fully from the expertise that our citizens have garnered during their sojourn abroad. Another matter which I know concerns you and on which I would like to offer some clarity concerning NDC's position is ROPA. We in the NDC have not been opposed to ROPA in principle. We have kicked against the potential of selective and inequitable implementation of ROPA that lends itself to exploitation by the incumbent party and to the unfair detriment of opposition parties. We have said, and that's the NDC's position, if ROPA is ever to be implemented, it should be implemented for every Ghanaian living everywhere outside Ghana. As far as we are concerned, a Ghanaian living in Europe or America should not have a greater right to vote than one living in Asia or in Africa. We in the NDC will not countenance an attempt or conspiracy between the NPP and the Electoral Commission to implement a lopsided ROPA that favors the NPP.
And back here in Ghana, we know that the Asin North parliamentary election is heating up. We'll deal with these matters, plus the internal race of the New Patriotic Party as the party looks for a next presidential phase. We're joined by some leading faces of the party to discuss the future of the NPP. It's coming up here on The Pulse. Please stay.